Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into something a little heavier. A place of heat, sand, noise and silence. We're not looking at night or castles this time. Instead, we're dropping into the reality of modern war. More specifically, what it felt like to be a US soldier in Iraq in the early 2000s, living every day under a sky that could shift from boring monotony to pure chaos in seconds. It's not the kind of war movie you've seen in theatres. There are no clean uniforms, no perfect speeches, and no neat endings. There's just a body that hurts, a mind that tries to keep up, and a little orange bottle of pills meant to make it all bearable. Before we sink in, make sure you're comfortable. Maybe dim the lights, maybe let the hum of a fan play in the background, and let your mind drift as we walk slowly through this. Tonight, you'll be waking up not in your own bed, but in a cot shoved into a room that smells like sweat, sand, and disinfectant that never really disinfects. You're far from home, surrounded by walls that shake every time a helicopter passes overhead, and you're expected to step out into a world where every shadow could be nothing, or it could be everything. This isn't the polished version of war they put in glossy books. This is the kind of war that wears you down day by day, until your back hurts too much to stand straight and you reach for Oxycodone just to get your boots on. It's survival, boredom, fear and addiction all braided together into one long stretch of days that blur into each other. And with that, let's begin. You're opening your eyes in Iraq. You blink awake to the sound of something rattling against metal. It's not an alarm clock, not a bell tower, just the hum of an old generator choking its way through another morning. The cot beneath you isn't a mattress, so much as a thin canvas stretched across squeaking bars, sagging in the middle so that your spine folds into it like a question mark. The pillow, if you can call it that, is just a lumpy sack of stuffing that smells faintly like detergent mixed with human sweat. It hasn't been washed in weeks, maybe months, and the scent clings to your hair. Your blanket, scratchy and damp from the night air, is pushed off to the side, already useless in the creeping heat that seeps in before sunrise. The first thing you notice isn't light, though. It's the air. Stale, heavy, almost syrupy. Even before the sun has climbed, the desert heat is pressing down on you. The small air conditioner mounted in the corner whines faintly, pushing out something closer to warm breath than actual cold air. Dust has clogged its vents. It rattles like it's about to give up. And honestly, you wouldn't be surprised if it did. Everyone's gotten used to it. You tell yourself it's better than nothing, even though the reality is it does nothing at all. Sweat beads on your forehead before you even sit up. Your mouth is dry, like cotton has been stuffed inside, but the canteen near your bed offers no comfort. The water inside tastes like plastic and chlorine, never cold, always lukewarm no matter how you try to keep it shaded. You take a small sip anyway, swishing it around, feeling the gritty tang slide down your throat. Hydration is survival out here, and yet the act of drinking never feels refreshing, only obligatory. Around you, other cots creak as the rest of the platoon starts stirring. No one speaks at first. The morning silence is thick, broken only by the sound of boots scraping against the plywood floor, Velcro ripping open, the occasional muffled cough. A radio hisses somewhere in the background, static humming louder than any clear words. The smell of sweat, boot leather, and dust mixes with the faint reek of burning trash from outside the walls. It seeps in no matter what you do, acrid and constant. You rub your eyes, trying to ignore the ache deep in your lower back. It's the same ache that's been there for weeks, nagging, sharp when you twist wrong, dull when you sit still. The cot doesn't help. The gear doesn't help. Nothing helps, except the pill bottle tucked in your duffel bag. You haven't reached for it yet, not this second, but you feel its presence like a weight, waiting for you. The day hasn't even begun, and already you know you'll need it. When you finally swing your legs off the cot, the floor greets you with a layer of fine dust that seems to coat everything. It sticks to your socks, grinds between your toes, scratches against your skin. Sand doesn't just stay outside. It crawls in through every crack in the walls, through vents, through seams in the door. It finds your clothes, your sheets, your lungs. You cough once, twice, spit into an old plastic bottle, and the taste of grit doesn't go away. You try stretching, though it feels pointless. Your shoulders pop, your knees crack, and your body feels older than it should. You're not even 30, but the desert has a way of aging you faster, pulling years out of you with every patrol, every sleepless night. There's a stiffness in your muscles that the cot doesn't forgive. You reach your arms overhead, and the motion makes your ribs ache where your armour has dug into them for days on end. You let your arms drop. You'll live with it. Everyone here does. From outside, a distant thud rolls across the air. Not close enough to mean anything, not loud enough to spark movement, just there. Like background noise. Some people don't even notice anymore. You've stopped flinching, but the sound always sits in the back of your head, impossible to ignore fully. It could be practice. It could be something else. You never know. And no one tells you unless they have to. The light changes as the sun finally starts pushing above the horizon. It doesn't creep gently. It blasts. Bright, glaring, sharp rays pierce through the slats in the makeshift window covers, cutting the dim room into stripes of gold and shadow. The heat intensifies instantly. Sweat slides down your neck, trickles under your shirt, dampens the waistband of your shorts. You wipe your face with your sleeve, but the fabric is already wet from yesterday. Clean laundry is a luxury, not a guarantee, and out here, everything smells like mildew and body odour after a single wear. You pull on your uniform anyway, the same one you wore yesterday and the day before. Stiff fabric, streaked with salt stains from old sweat, faintly sour no matter how many times it's rinsed in buckets of brown water. The boots are the worst. You shove your feet into them, laces stiff with dried mud and sand, soles cracked from heat. They press against blisters that never fully heal, rubbing the skin raw again and again. You try adjusting them, but it doesn't matter. By the end of the day, your feet will feel like they've been beaten with hammers. That's just the reality. Everyone limps a little by nightfall. Someone mutters nearby, breaking the silence. A joke about the coffee, about how it tastes like motor oil. The voices rise gradually as more people wake. Coughs, groans, curses. One guy hacks into a rag, spits into an empty bottle, and rolls back over. Another shakes out a pack of cigarettes, lights one, and lets the smoke curl toward the ceiling. The smell mixes with the already sour air. It doesn't bother you anymore. Nothing here smells good. You check your duffel again, eyes landing on the small orange bottle. White label, black text, your name printed neatly across it. Oxycodone. You tilt it just enough to hear the pills rattle inside, muffled clinks against plastic. There's comfort in that sound, though it's a dangerous kind. You tell yourself you'll wait. Not yet. Not until the pain gets sharper. But you know how the day will go. You always know. The morning drags as you finish pulling on your gear. Layers of armour, straps digging into your shoulders, helmet heavy on your neck. Every piece is designed for protection, but it feels more like punishment. The vest clings tight, trapping heat, making it hard to breathe. The helmet squeezes until your temples throb. By the time you're suited up, you're drenched in sweat, chest heaving like you've run a mile, and the day hasn't even begun. Outside, the sun is fully up now, turning everything blinding white. Sand reflects it back into your eyes no matter where you look, and the ground burns through your boots. The air feels like it's been set on low broil. A truck idles nearby, engine grumbling, belching exhaust. You squint against the glare, already exhausted, already thinking about that bottle in your bag, already wondering how many pills it will take to get through another day like this. You're sitting on the edge of the cot, armour straps half fastened, boots already pinching your feet, when the sound comes back to you. That same groaning whine from the corner of the room. The little metal box nailed high on the wall with chipped paint and vents clogged with dust. The air conditioner, or at least the machine that's supposed to be one. It's been rattling since the day you arrived, coughing out bursts of air that never feel cold, just slightly less hot than what's already around you. It's the kind of noise that grinds into your ears without you realising. A low, mechanical hum punctuated by irregular clunks, like the motor inside is chewing on sand. At first, when you got here, you used to joke about it with the guys. How you'd give your left arm for a working AC. How the desert heat would probably cook you alive, if it didn't. A month later the joke stopped being funny. Now it's just background, a sound you wake up to, fall asleep to, and hear even when you're outside. It worms its way into your head until silence feels unnatural. The hum fills the room, mixing with the heavy breathing of men pulling on armour, with the scrape of boots against the floorboards, with the metallic clatter of weapons being checked and rechecked. Sometimes the AC groans so loudly it drowns out the conversations. You glance at it without thinking, as if staring will convince it to push out one gust of actual cold air. But all it does is vibrate against the wall, rattling screws loose, dripping a steady trickle of brown water into a dented bucket below. The puddle stinks faintly of mould, but no one bothers emptying it anymore. The air itself feels sticky. Not humid, not wet, just thick. The machine should be cutting it, but instead it stirs the heat around like a spoon in soup. Dust particles catch in the sunlight, streaming through the slats, swirling lazily. You breathe them in with every inhale, taste grit at the back of your throat, and cough into your sleeve. The sleeve already smells like sweat, old deodorant, and faint traces of gun oil. You cough again, chest tightening, and the AC hum doesn't pause for a second. It's strange how quickly you stop hoping for comfort. At home you'd never stand for it. A broken unit, a room this hot, you'd call someone, fix it, demand relief. Out here, no one even talks about repair. The AC is broken, has always been broken, will always be broken. That's just the fact of life. You accept it the same way you accept the dust in your boots, the smell of burning trash in the air, the weight of the body armour. Complaining takes energy you don't have, and no one's listening anyway. One of the guys throws a shirt over his head and mutters something about the heat. Another lights a cigarette under the machine, letting the smoke curl into the weak airflow, as if the AC is good for anything besides spreading it around the room. You catch the scent immediately, sharp and bitter, and the hum seems to grow louder, vibrating against your skull. Cigarette smoke, dust, body odour, and faint chemical tang from the cleaning supplies used weeks ago. The air feels dense enough to chew. The hum becomes your pulse after a while, a low vibration behind your eyes. You think about how it never stops, how even when the generator cuts out for a few seconds and the lights flicker, the AC sputters back like it's immortal. It doesn't cool you, it doesn't help, but it's always there, like an unwanted companion. You imagine it at night when you can't sleep, lying in the heat, sweat soaking into the sheets, the noise drilling into your head. You count the hums like others count sheep. 1 rattle, 2 rattles, 3. You stop counting because it only reminds you how awake you still are. Your body aches more in this air. Muscles sore, back stiff, sweat trickling into old blisters. You shift your weight on the cot and feel the armour pressing down on your shoulders. The hum seems to press with it, heavy, unrelenting. You think about the pill bottle again, still tucked in your bag. It's not time yet, but the thought is there. A quiet promise that relief is waiting. That with a pill, the hum will fade into the background, less sharp, less grating. More like a lullaby than a drill. You shake the thought off, stand up, and the cot creaks loudly, joining the chorus of noise. Outside, you know it's worse. No walls, no shade, no machine even pretending to fight the heat. Out there, the air is a furnace. Here, inside, the hum at least gives the illusion of protection, like a weak shield. You stand there, sweating under your gear, staring at the old metal box with its bent vents and rust stains, and realise you've grown dependent on its uselessness. If it suddenly stopped, the silence would be unbearable. You reach for your helmet, strap it under your chin, and the hum drones on, indifferent. Someone slams the door open, sunlight floods in, and the heat outside crashes into the room. The AC keeps humming like nothing's changed, a stubborn machine in a place where nothing works the way it should. You step toward the door, boots grinding sand into the floor, and the hum follows you, fading only when the heat of the desert swallows everything else. You step outside, and the first thing that hits you is the light. It doesn't creep over the horizon in soft colours the way you remember from back home. Here, it slams into your eyes like a weapon. The sky is already white hot, the sun climbing higher with no mercy. You squint, blinking against the glare, and the sweat starts immediately. It beads on your forehead, trickles down your back, soaks into the collar of your shirt before you even reach the spot where everyone else is gathering. The gravel under your boots crunches with each step, a sound sharp enough to cut through the drone of distant engines. A few trucks idle nearby, their exhaust spilling into the air and mixing with the constant burn of trash pits somewhere beyond the wire. The smell is a mix of diesel, scorched plastic, and something sour that clings to your tongue. You taste it as much as you breathe it. The dust kicked up by every step joins the heat, sticking to the sweat on your skin, turning into a paste you can't wipe away. Everyone lines up in rows, more or less straight, boots shoulder to shoulder, faces already flushed from the heat. The sergeant's voice barks across the yard, sharp and clipped, carrying over the hum of the generators and the low rumble of aircraft in the distance. The words are routine, the same every morning, but the weight of them still presses down. Roll call, assignments, reminders about safety, about vigilance, about watching for signs that never seem clear until it's too late. You stand at attention, gear digging into you, and listen without really hearing. The armour is a cage. Heavy plates front and back. Straps pulling across your shoulders, pinching into your chest. Every breath is shorter, harder, shallow under the weight. The vest is soaked already, heat trapped beneath it. Fabric clinging to your skin like a wet towel. Your helmet rests heavy on your head, the strap biting into your chin. It shifts when you move, tugging at your neck until the muscles there ache. You can feel the sweat pooling under the rim, dripping down into your eyes. You blink it away, but it burns. Your rifle hangs from its sling, pressing into your side, the metal warmed by the sun, even though you've only been outside minutes. It's never light, never comfortable. The sling rubs your shoulder raw. The grip digs into your thigh. Every movement is a reminder that you're carrying more than your body was built for. Ammo, water, first aid kit, radio, batteries, tools. The straps cut into your hips, your waist, your shoulders, dividing your body into segments of pain. You shift your weight, trying to ease it, but there's no relief. There never is. Someone coughs loudly in the next row. Another adjusts their helmet with a muttered curse. A third shifts their rifle and lets out a low groan. None of it breaks the rhythm of formation. You're all statues under the sun, sweating, burning, waiting. The sergeant keeps talking, words about discipline, about staying alert, about how one mistake could get someone killed. You nod at the right times, eyes forward, though your mind drifts. The weight keeps dragging it back. Your shoulders throb, your lower back screams, your knees lock, then buckle slightly, forcing you to shift again. Small movements you hope no one notices. The pills are on your mind, as they always are, tucked safe in that little bottle. One or two and the aches would dull. The armour wouldn't feel like a prison. The heat wouldn't dig so deep. You know you'll reach for them later. You always do. But for now, you stand here, sweat dripping, muscles tightening, pretending the weight is bearable, pretending you're fine. The sergeant dismisses the group with a sharp order, and everyone breaks formation in near silence. Boots scuff against gravel, rifles clatter against armour, voices murmur low. No one wastes words in this heat. No one has the energy. You fall into step with the others, gear grinding against you with every movement, the sun climbing higher, the day stretching out in front of you. The weight never leaves. It just follows, heavy and constant, like a shadow that presses down instead of stretching out. You shuffle toward the mess tent with your rifle hanging heavy against your chest, and the sweat still running down your back from formation. The gravel under your boots crunches with every step, but it's drowned out by the hum of generators and the shouts of soldiers moving in different directions. The smell hits you before you reach the flap of the tent. Not bacon, not fresh bread, not anything close to what breakfast should smell like. It's a sour cloud of instant coffee, overboiled, mixed with the faint stench of powdered eggs that have been sitting too long on metal trays. The air is thick with it, heavier than the desert dust. Inside, the heat doubles. The tent traps everything. Steam, sweat, diesel fumes from the stoves. You join the slow-moving line, gear dragging you down, helmet tilting forward. Ahead, soldiers grip plastic trays with one hand, rifles with the other. shuffling forward with the tired rhythm of people who have done this too many times. No one talks much, just coughs, sniffles, boots scraping on the canvas floor. The only real voice is the cook behind the trays, scooping portions that look the same every day, the same yellow mound, the same burnt liquid poured into styrofoam cups. The eggs don't look like eggs. They're a chalky heap, powder mixed with water, until it's just solid enough to hold shape. You take the scoop without complaint, watch it slide onto your tray with a wet smack, and move on. A slice of toast follows, pale on one side, charred black on the other. The coffee comes next, poured from a metal pot that's older than most of the soldiers here. It sloshes into the cup, bitter and scorched, smelling more like engine oil than anything meant for drinking. Sugar and powdered creamer sit in dented tins at the end of the line, clumped together from humidity, barely disguising the taste. You find a spot at one of the long tables, squeeze between two others, and set your tray down. The bench wobbles under the weight of bodies and gear. The air is loud with chewing, coughing, the scrape of plastic utensils. No one here eats slowly. Food is fuel, nothing more, and you choke it down because you have to. You stab the eggs with your fork. They break apart like rubber. The texture is gritty, sticking to your teeth, clinging to your tongue. You swallow, grimace, and wash it down with coffee that burns your throat but doesn't wake you up. Around you the conversation is low, half-hearted. Someone mutters about the heat, another curses about the coffee. A laugh here, a groan there, but it all dies quickly. The food doesn't inspire talk. It doesn't inspire anything. It just sits in your stomach like a stone. You chew the toast carefully, biting around the blackened edges that taste like charcoal. The inside is so dry it scratches your throat, turning to dust before you swallow. Your back aches against the bench, your shoulders still raw from the armour, and you think again about the pills waiting for you. Breakfast doesn't make the pain better. It doesn't give you energy. It just fills the space in your gut long enough to keep you moving. The bitter taste of coffee lingers, coating your mouth in a way water never washes away. You take another sip anyway, because it's all there is, and because maybe if you drink enough, it will trick your body into thinking you're awake. You glance around the tent. Every face looks the same. Eyes dull, cheeks sunburned, sweat dripping down temples, mouths chewing mechanically. No one looks at their plate like it's food. They look at it like it's an obstacle. Something to be finished before the day starts in earnest. The air conditioner in the corner groans, pushing around heat instead of cooling it. The hum blends with the clatter of trays, the muttered voices, the scrape of forks. You breathe in, choke slightly on the mix of smells, and keep eating. The eggs are gone too fast, not because you like them, but because you forced them down. The toast is finished, though it feels like sandpaper. The coffee is still half full, still too hot, still tasting like burnt dirt. You finish it anyway, slam the empty cup on the table, and wipe your mouth with the back of your sleeve. Sweat, dust, grease, it's all the same. You stand, tray in hand, dump what's left into a dented trash barrel that reeks of old food, and step back into the blinding sun. Your stomach is heavy, your mouth still bitter, your body already sore. The day hasn't even started, and you know the weight of it will drag on, same as the taste of those powdered eggs and burnt coffee that will stick with you long after you've left the mess tent behind. You're back at your cot after the bitter breakfast, The taste of burnt coffee still clinging to your tongue. The rubbery eggs sitting in your stomach like a stone. The room hasn't cooled at all. The air conditioner still hums, useless as ever, pushing the same thick, dusty air around. Sweat sticks your shirt to your back. Your shoulders still ache under the straps of your armour, and your knees throb from standing too long in formation. That's when your eyes drift toward the bag sitting at the side of the cot. You know exactly what's inside. The small orange bottle rattles softly when you pick it up. You don't even need to read the label anymore. Your name is there, the dosage, the instructions. But you know it all by heart. Take one every 6 hours as needed for pain. The words don't mean much here. The hours blur. The pain never really stops. It's always needed. You tilt the bottle, hear the pills click against each other. White tablets rolling like bones in a cup. There's comfort in the sound, dangerous comfort, but it's the only steady thing in a place where nothing else is steady. You unscrew the cap, plastic ridges rough against your fingers. For a moment, you just stare at the pills inside, identical, lifeless, and yet carrying the promise of relief. Relief from the sharp stabs in your back, the grinding ache in your knees, the constant pressure of armour that makes every breath shorter than it should be. Relief from the way the desert heat seems to crawl into your bones, leaving you exhausted before the day has even begun. You shake one into your palm. It sits there, small and chalky, harmless to anyone else but heavier than anything you'll carry today. Around you, other soldiers do the same, though not everyone admits it out loud. Some keep their bottles hidden, taking a pill with a quick sip of warm water when no one's watching. Others share, trade, ask in low voices if you've got a spare. It's not just pain relief anymore. It's ritual. Before patrol, before stepping out into the blinding sun and the unknown, the pill becomes as much a part of the routine as checking your rifle or tightening your helmet strap. The water from your canteen tastes like plastic and chlorine, lukewarm at best, but it's enough to wash the pill down. You feel it stick for a second in your throat before sliding lower. There's no rush, no instant wave, just a slow, creeping dullness that spreads through your body over the next half hour. The edges soften. The sharp pains blur. The weight of the gear doesn't vanish, but it feels a little less crushing. Your breath still shortens under the vest. Your knees still grind when you move, but you can stand straighter, move easier. Pretend for a little while that the pain isn't winning. You sit for a moment, waiting, listening to the room around you. Boots thump against the floor. Weapons clatter as they're checked and rechecked. Voices murmur low. Someone curses about the heat, another about their stomach. Cigarette smoke drifts through the air, mixing with the sour tang of sweat and dust. The hum of the air conditioner drones on, and for once, it doesn't drill into your skull. The pill is working its way through you, smoothing the edges not just of pain, but of noise, of heat, of everything. You know the danger. Everyone does. It's talked about in hushed tones, in half-serious jokes. The pills are supposed to be temporary, supposed to get you through an injury, a bad back, a pulled muscle. But out here, the injuries never stop. The back always hurts. The muscles are always pulled. The line between need and habit blurs until there's no line at all. You take the pill not just for pain, but because the thought of facing the day without it is worse than the pain itself. The ritual becomes muscle memory. Reach for the bottle, rattle, twist the cap, Tap one pill into your hand, swallow with a sip of warm water, breathe, wait. You do it without thinking now. Just another step in the routine before heading out. You sling your rifle, adjust your vest, check your gear, and feel the slow wave settle into your body. Outside, the sun is waiting, the dust is waiting, the possibility of explosions, gunfire, or silence stretching into infinity is waiting. But you've had the pill. You can step into it. You glance at the bottle again before shoving it back into your bag. Still half full. Enough for now? You don't count them. Not yet. Counting only makes you realise how fast they're going. How much you've come to rely on them. You screw the cap tight, push the bag under your cot, and stand. The room spins slightly, not unpleasant, just soft around the edges. The ache in your back fades into the background hum of the air conditioner. The pain in your knees dulls enough to ignore. The weight of the gear presses down, but you can carry it. You always can, as long as the bottle isn't empty. The call comes from outside. Voices rising, boots moving toward the door. It's time to go. You fall into step with the others, rifle in hand, helmet heavy on your head, sweat already forming at the edges of your armour. The pill is settled in now. It's a deduct, spreading a calmness through your body that doesn't belong in this place, but is necessary to survive it. The ritual is complete. The patrol is waiting. The motor pool is already alive before you even reach it. Engines roar, metal clatters, voices echo sharp against steel walls. The smell is unmistakable. Diesel fumes thicken the air. Hot oil, rubber tyres warming under the sun, all layered on top of the endless grit of dust that coats every surface. You move with the others, boots grinding against the gravel, rifle bouncing against your chest, gear pressing into your shoulders with every step. The pill you swallowed earlier has dulled the ache just enough to keep you steady, but the weight is still there. It always is. The vehicles sit lined up like beasts waiting to be unleashed. Humvees with faded paint and sand-caked windshields. Gun trucks with turrets that creak when they rotate. Each one scarred with scratches, dents, the kind of wear that tells stories no one bothers repeating anymore. You've climbed into them too many times. You've listened to the same warnings, the same briefings, the same unspoken truth. Every time the engines start, there's a chance one won't make it back. Climbing inside is its own struggle. The armour makes you clumsy, the gear pulls you down, the rifle jabs into your side as you wedge yourself through the narrow door. Inside, the air is already stifling, trapped heat baking against the metal walls. The seats are stiff, torn in places, foam poking out, covered in fine layers of dust that no amount of wiping ever removes. You pull the door shut and the sound dulls, but only slightly. The outside roar fades into a confined hum, the rattling of bolts and plates vibrating as the engine growls to life. The convoy lines up, one vehicle behind another, engines rumbling in rhythm, exhaust fumes spilling into the air until it becomes hard to breathe without coughing. Radios crackle, voices clipped and efficient, confirming positions, checking channels, rehearsing what everyone already knows by heart. No one talks beyond what's necessary. Conversation here is wasted breath. You adjust your helmet, shift the rifle across your lap, and feel the pill working, softening the edges of your nerves, but never erasing them completely. The first lurch comes sudden, the Humvee jerking forward as the convoy begins to move. Gravel crunches under tyres. Dust kicks up instantly, rising in thick clouds that swirl around the windows and seep through every crack in the doors. It fills your nose, your throat, settling on your skin until it feels like part of you. Outside, the world becomes a blur of tan and grey. Buildings flick past, some standing, some crumbling, all marked by war. Empty streets, shuttered windows, stray dogs picking through trash. Sometimes children appear on rooftops, sometimes men in doorways, watching with unreadable eyes. You try not to stare too long at any of them. Inside the vehicle, silence grows heavier the farther you go. The engine is loud, the road is rough, but no one speaks unless necessary. Less. The gunner above shifts occasionally, the turret grinding as it sweeps the horizon. You glance at your fellow soldiers, their faces expressionless, eyes hidden behind scratched sunglasses. Everyone listens for something. An explosion, a gunshot, the sudden crack of a radio call. You find yourself holding your breath at times, waiting, counting the seconds between bumps in the road. Every pothole feels like a threat. Every pile of trash, every abandoned car, every patch of disturbed dirt could hide something. You scan constantly, eyes darting from one side of the road to the other, from rooftops to alleys. The pill dulls the ache in your body, but it doesn't erase the tension in your chest. It never does. Out here, tension is survival. You grip your rifle tighter, even though you know it won't matter much if the worst happens. The dust never stops. It whirls in through vents, scratches at your eyes, coats your teeth. You swallow and taste grit. You cough and it doesn't help. Your skin feels raw under the armour, and your lips cracked. Your throat parched despite the water bottle at your side. You take a sip, warm and metallic, and it does nothing to quench the dryness. The vehicle rattles over uneven ground, throwing you against the straps of your seatbelt, bouncing your helmet off the headrest. You grit your teeth and brace for the next jolt, and the next, and the next. The convoy crawls forward, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, depending on the road, depending on what the lead vehicle sees. You measure time in blocks passed, in turns taken, in beads of sweat dripping down your face. Minutes stretch into hours, or maybe it's hours into minutes. You can't tell anymore. The desert sun slams down, heating the metal until it burns through gloves if you touch it too long. The air conditioner inside the Humvee sputters, barely moving the air. The pill dulls your pain, but it can't dull the heat. Nothing can. The silence grows heavier. No one says it out loud, but everyone feels it. The waiting, the not knowing, the possibility that at any second the dust cloud outside could rip open with sound and fire. You try not to think about it, but it's impossible not to. You press your back harder into the seat, fingers drumming against your rifle, eyes scanning the blur of sand and concrete outside. You focus on the hum of the engine, on the rattle of loose bolts, on the steady rhythm of tyres grinding forward. Anything to fill the silence. And still, the convoy pushes on. Through dust that coats everything. Through streets that might be empty, or might not. Through silence that weighs more than the armour on your shoulders. You swallow again, throat dry, pill settled deep in your system, and remind yourself this is just another patrol, just another convoy, just another day. The first thing you notice when the Humvee door swings open is not the light or the heat, but the smell. It's everywhere, unavoidable. A layered haze that sinks into your skin and clings to your uniform long after you leave it behind. Diesel, sweat and burning trash. 3 scents that define the air in Iraq more than dust or sand ever could. They mix until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You breathe in, and it hits the back of your throat like a punch, bitter and thick, leaving behind a taste that water never washes away. The diesel is constant. It seeps out of every truck, every generator, every armoured vehicle lined up in the motor pool. Engines idle endlessly, their fumes rolling in heavy clouds, coating the inside of your nose with a greasy film. It sticks to the tongue, metallic and sharp, leaving you coughing into your sleeve without relief. The smell lingers in your clothes so deeply that even if you scrub them in real soap and rinse them in clear water, which you never get to do, it would stay. Out here, diesel is as much a part of you as the dust under your fingernails. The sweat is just as inescapable. It pours out of every pore under the armour, running down backs, soaking collars, pooling inside boots until socks cling like rags dipped in salt water. The tent reeks of it, the vehicles reek of it. Every confined space turns into a chamber, thick with the sour tang of bodies that can't stay dry. You smell yourself, and you smell everyone else. And after a while there's no difference. It's sharp, salty, almost acidic, burning your nose as much as the diesel does. You can try to mask it with deodorant, but it only mixes into the stench, a sweet chemical layer over something rotten. Then there's the trash, always burning, always somewhere close enough for the smoke to drift in. Pits dug into the ground, filled with whatever needs to be disposed of. Plastic, wood, food scraps, medical waste, sometimes things you don't want to think about. The flames turn it all into a black smoke that climbs into the sky before sinking back down into your lungs. It's acrid, chemical, foul enough to sting the eyes, and yet it becomes background noise, part of the landscape, a haze that hovers at the edge of everything. The smell sticks to your hair, your gear, the skin of your hands until even sleep is haunted by it. Together the 3 scents form a wall. Diesel, sweat, burning trash. You can't escape it, not in the tent, not on patrol, not even in fleeting moments when the wind changes direction. It's in your clothes, in your sheets, in your rifle sling, in the water you drink because your hands stink when you lift the bottle. It doesn't fade, it doesn't change. You breathe it in so much that after weeks you stop noticing unless you try to remember what clean air used to be like. And then the memory feels distant, almost unreal, as if it belonged to someone else's life. You glance at the soldier next to you, his uniform dark with sweat stains, his face streaked with dust and grease. He doesn't say anything. No one does. You're all living inside the same cloud, sharing the same stench. When one lights a cigarette, it just folds into the mix. When another sprays deodorant, it's a brief sweetness that vanishes instantly. The core remains: diesel, sweat, burning trash, always. You take another breath, slow, shallow, trying to pretend it's air. The pill you took earlier softens the ache in your body, but it doesn't soften this. Nothing does. You know that long after you leave this place, the memory won't be of landscapes or buildings, or even the sound of engines. It'll be this, the smell that never let go. You roll back into the Humvee, the stink of diesel and burning trash still in your nose, and settle into the stiff seat with your rifle pressed tight against your chest. The pill you took earlier has dulled the edges of your aches, but nothing dulls what comes next. The convoy lurches forward again, and now the only thing that matters is the road. Your eyes trace every inch of it, every crack, every pile of rubble, every patch of disturbed dirt. You scan until your vision blurs, then you force yourself to scan again. Out here, the road itself is the enemy. An empty soda can glinting in the sun. A mound of sand that looks just a little too neat. A box sitting on the shoulder. A dead animal lying in the wrong place. Each one could be nothing, or it could be everything. You don't get to decide. You just watch. Constantly. Without pause. The silence inside the vehicle grows heavier the farther you go. Radios crackle with clipped words. The gunner shifts above you. The engine hums. But no one makes small talk. No one distracts themselves with stories or jokes now. Every mind is locked on the same thought. The next second could be the one. You grip your rifle tighter, as if that will help, even though deep down you know it won't. Against an IED, the rifle in your hands is as useful as a stick. Your body tenses with every bump in the road. The tyres crunch over gravel, slam into potholes, rattle against broken pavement, and each jolt sends a spike of tension through your chest. You flinch at shadows. You brace when the driver slows down near an obstacle. The air feels thicker, hotter, harder to breathe. You can feel your pulse in your neck, your temples, your fingertips, but your face stays still. Everyone's does. You don't show it. You just keep watching. The pill makes your muscles looser, your back less rigid, but your eyes stay sharp, straining against the brightness of the desert sun. Sweat stings, sliding into the corners of your eyes, but you don't blink long enough to wipe it away. You can't. Blinking feels like risk. Looking away feels like risk. Even breathing feels like risk. The world shrinks down to a tunnel. The stretch of road in front of you. The edges of the ditches. The abandoned shells of buildings. Sometimes there's nothing. Just miles of dust. The monotony of heat waves rising off the pavement. The sound of engines grinding forward. And then sometimes there's too much. Crowds at intersections. Cars pulled off to the side. People walking faster than they should or standing still for too long. Every movement is suspect. Every look feels loaded. You watch faces in doorways, rooftops, alleys. Some stare back blankly. Some look away quickly. Some don't look at all. And that's somehow worse. You remember the stories. Convoys ripped apart by explosives, buried under trash, hidden in potholes, wired into cars left abandoned. You've seen the aftermath yourself. Metal twisted into shapes you didn't think possible. Black smoke rising. Ground scorched. Air filled with dust and screams. You try not to replay it, but it comes back anyway. The smell of it, the sound, the weight in your stomach that never really left. So you keep watching. You tell yourself, if you look hard enough, if you pay attention, maybe you'll see it in time. Maybe you'll notice the one detail that means stop. But deep down, you know most don't see it until it's too late. That's the part you can't say out loud. The watching isn't protection, it's ritual. It gives you something to do while you wait for the possibility of the road itself trying to kill you. The convoy keeps moving, slow and steady, heat shimmering off the hood, dust choking the air. Your throat is dry, your eyes ache, your shoulders burn under the armour. The pill softens the pain, but not the fear. The fear is sharp, constant, alive. You grip the rifle tighter, shift in your seat, and keep staring at the road as if your eyes alone could hold it all together. Inside the Humvee, the dust hangs thick, and the road stretches on without end. The air is stifling, and every soldier inside is locked into the same rhythm, eyes scanning, shoulders tight. fingers drumming against rifles. Hours pass this way, though no one dares to check a watch. Out here, time is measured in miles and in silence. And silence eventually breaks. Not because anyone has something to say, but because no one can stand it forever. It always starts the same way. Someone clears their throat, shifts in their seat, and mutters a line that could be a joke, or could be nothing at all. Something about the food back at the mess hall. Something about the air conditioner that never works. Something about how the sergeant's voice sounded like gravel that morning. The words fall flat, hanging in the hot air, and maybe one or two laugh softly, more out of reflex than amusement. Then it dies again. The conversation doesn't lead anywhere. It never does. Minutes later, someone else tries. They ask who wrote home last, if anyone's mail made it through. Maybe they mention a girlfriend, a wife, a kid, a vague plan for when the deployment ends. The answers are always short, clipped. Yeah, she wrote. No, not lately. Maybe next week. And then silence settles again. You hear the engine louder, the rattle of loose bolts, the squeak of gear against armour. The attempt at connection fades like everything else out here, swallowed by heat and dust. The pill you took earlier makes you feel detached, as if you're floating just outside your body. It dulls the ache in your back, makes the seat bearable, but it also mutes everything else. You listen to the half-hearted words without reacting much. You want to join in, to push the talk along, but nothing worth saying comes to mind. So you sit, rifle balanced on your lap, eyes darting to the road, mouth dry, letting the others fill the air with scraps of conversation that don't matter. Sometimes the talk circles back to home. Sports games no one has watched in months. Favourite foods that don't exist here. Streets and neighbourhoods that feel like they belong to another life. The words are meant to comfort, but they only make the distance feel sharper. No one lingers long on those topics. Too much detail makes it harder. So the conversations skim the surface, never sinking deep, like stones skipping across water until they sink anyway. Other times the talk drifts into dark humour, the kind you wouldn't repeat back home. Jokes about the heat cooking you alive in your armour. Jokes about the chow hall food being made from powdered sand. Jokes about the convoy exploding, said in flat voices that don't sound like jokes at all. Everyone chuckles, even you, but the laughter dies quickly, replaced by silence heavier than before. The jokes don't make anyone feel lighter. They're just pressure valves hissing for a second before clamping shut again. The gunner above calls down occasionally, his voice muffled through a headset. He points out something on the roadside, a kid waving, a car pulling over too slowly, a stray dog crossing the street. The words don't start conversations. They're just observations, warnings, fragments meant to fill the space between breaths. You listen, nod, tighten your grip on your rifle, and the silence swallows it again. The driver hums under his breath, off-key, tuneless. The sound lasts a few minutes before fading. Another soldier taps a rhythm on his knee with gloved fingers. Another scratches his chin and mutters about how long this ride will last. Every attempt to talk dissolves the same way, trailing off into the heat. You realise it's not about what's said. It's about reminding yourselves that you're still here, still alive, still human, even if the words don't lead anywhere. You feel the pill settling deeper, wrapping your thoughts in cotton. The conversations drift past you like static on a broken radio. Snippets about food, about home, about nothing at all. You nod when someone glances your way, offer a word or two when it feels required, but mostly you sit and watch the road. The silence feels safer than the talk, safer than saying something real. The Humvee rattles on, tyres grinding against broken pavement, dust swirling in the sunlight. The conversations fade again, replaced by the hum of the engine, the weight of heat, the endless watch for threats outside. You exhale slowly, feel your shoulders sink slightly, and know that sooner or later someone will try again. Another joke, another question, another conversation that goes nowhere, and you'll listen because it's all you can do. You come back from patrol coated in dust, eyes burning, throat raw. The gear feels twice as heavy now. The pill in your system long since worn to a dull hum that doesn't cover the ache in your back anymore. When you step into the tent, you see it. A stack of envelopes and packages sitting crooked on a folding table near the entrance. Mail call. The one thing that can make the whole platoon stop moving for a moment. Every soldier drifts toward it, slow but eager, trying not to look too desperate, but you can feel the hunger in the air. The sergeant picks through the pile, reading names off the corners, tossing letters into waiting hands, sliding small boxes across the table. Some guys grin when they hear their names. Some barely react, but grip the envelope tightly, sliding it into a pocket like it's gold. Others stand still, silent, their names never called, their hands empty. You know the feeling too well. You stand, waiting, hoping, listening for your name. It doesn't come. Not this time. Not for you. The disappointment is sharp, but you swallow it down. You tell yourself it's fine, that mail gets delayed, that letters take weeks to crawl across oceans and deserts. You remind yourself that even when they arrive, they're already old. Written a month ago, maybe more. By the time you open one, whatever it says has already changed. The world at home keeps moving while you sit here in the dust. News arrives late, always half true, always out of sync. It's like chasing shadows. You watch others tear open their envelopes, pulling out folded pages covered in familiar handwriting. Some smile faintly, some shake their heads. Some press the paper to their faces like it might let them breathe cleaner air. The ones with packages dig out cookies, jerky, socks, bottles of lotion. The air fills with the smell of home for a moment. Cinnamon, soap, chocolate, but it's fleeting. Soon the scents are swallowed by diesel and sweat, just like everything else. When you do get a letter, it feels like a piece of another life. The handwriting is familiar, the words warm, but they don't match the world you're in. They talk about weather, about errands, about TV shows you haven't seen in months. They describe dinners, birthdays, Sunday mornings with coffee. Normal things, things that feel unreal. You read them slowly, carefully, as if each word might fade if you rush. And yet, the more you read, the more the gap yawns open between here and there. You can't explain the dust, the heat, the fear. They can't explain the comfort of a quiet morning at home. The words don't cross the distance. They only remind you of it. Sometimes letters never come at all. Promises of writing fade. Weeks stretch into months. You tell yourself people get busy, that life keeps going, that silence doesn't mean forgetting. But the waiting grinds you down. Every mail call you hope. You stand in line. You listen for your name. And when it doesn't come, you walk back to your cot. Rifle slung heavy across your chest, body aching, throat bitter with disappointment. You sit, stare at the canvas above you, and pretend you don't care. The pills help dull that too. Not just the pain, but the waiting, the silence, the sharp ache of being forgotten. You take one when the emptiness is too much. Let it smooth the edges. Let it numb the questions that letters never answer. You lie back, close your eyes, and pretend you're somewhere else. For a little while, it works, until the next mail call, until the next reminder that time moves differently back home, and you'll never catch up. The armour was designed to save your life, but it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like punishment. You notice it the moment you strap it on, the plate digging into your shoulders, the weight pulling down on your spine, the pressure squeezing your chest until every breath feels half finished. At first you tell yourself it's just part of the job, that you'll get used to it, but you never really do. Day after day, hour after hour, your body wears down, grinding against itself under the weight until even standing still hurts. The pain comes in layers. It starts with the obvious. The ache in your back from carrying 50, 60, sometimes more pounds of gear. The constant drag on your shoulders that makes your muscles spasm. The way the vest digs into your ribs. The helmet that presses into your skull until your temples throb. Then there are the smaller pains, the ones that creep in slowly and never leave. The blisters on your feet from boots soaked in sweat. The raw skin on your thighs where the straps rub. The stiff knots in your neck that no amount of stretching ever untangles. You try to ignore it, but your body won't let you. Every step on patrol sends a jolt through your knees. Every bump in the Humvee rattles your spine. Every hour spent sitting in gear leaves your legs numb and tingling. The pill helps blur it, softens the edges, but it never erases it completely. Pain becomes background noise, constant and unyielding, like the hum of the air conditioner that never works. You stop asking if it will go away. You just wonder how much worse it will get. The betrayal is subtle. You're young, supposed to be strong, supposed to handle this, and yet your joints creak when you stand, your muscles twitch without warning, and your back seizes when you bend wrong. You wake up stiff, already sore before the day even begins. Sometimes you feel older than you are, decades older, as if the desert has stolen years from you. You stretch, you drink water, you swallow pills, but the pain always comes back, heavier than before. It isn't just physical. Pain seeps into everything. It makes you short-tempered, makes sleep harder, makes every movement feel like work. Conversations drift past you because you're too focused on shifting your weight, finding a position that doesn't send a spike through your spine. You eat quickly, not because you're hungry, but because sitting on the hard benches makes your hips ache. You snap at small things, not out of anger, but because the throbbing never stops. Pain becomes the rhythm of your day, the silent companion you can't shake. Some soldiers hide it better than others. They grit their teeth, crack jokes, pretend the limp isn't real. Others reach for their pill bottles more often, washing down tablets with warm water, chasing a few hours of relief. You find yourself somewhere in between, not broken, not whole, caught in a cycle where the body you rely on feels less reliable every day. You wonder sometimes what it will be like years from now, when the war is over, when the gear is gone. You wonder if the pain will still be there, if your body will still betray you long after you've left this place behind. But the wondering doesn't help. The armour waits, the patrol waits, the weight waits. You pull the straps tighter, bite back the discomfort, and step into the sun again. your body aching under the burden that never eases. It creeps in slowly, never all at once. At first it's just a softening at the edges, like someone turned the volume down on the sharpness of the world. The ache in your back dulls, the throb in your knees fades, the grinding pressure of the armour feels less like a knife and more like a weight you can tolerate. The pill smooths it all over, covers the sharp corners in a haze that feels like relief. But relief isn't free. The fog settles deeper the longer you sit with it. Your thoughts drift, not far, just enough that focus slips. You catch yourself staring at the same patch of sand for minutes at a time, forgetting what you were supposed to be scanning for. You hold your rifle tighter, as if that alone will snap you back. But the pull is steady. The medication doesn't just numb the pain in your body. It numbs everything. The fear, the boredom, the anger. The edges blur until all that's left is a kind of blank space you float through. Conversations around you fade in and out. You hear voices but don't always catch the words. Laughter echoes flat, as though coming from the other side of a wall. Sometimes you respond late, realising only after that someone was talking to you. The others don't comment much. They know the look, the half-lidded eyes, the slight sway when you're sitting still. Most of them have been there too. Everyone out here has a bottle tucked away somewhere. The fog feels safe at first. You tell yourself it makes patrols easier, makes the waiting bearable, makes the silence less crushing. The road doesn't look as threatening when your mind is wrapped in cotton. The explosions in your imagination quiet down. The hours slip by faster. You convince yourself it's just managing the pain, but you know it's more than that. You start to want the fog, even when the pain isn't screaming. It seeps into your nights too. When you swallow a pill before lying back on the cot, the fog thickens until sleep drags you under faster. Dreams blur, half remembered, soft-edged, like you're watching them through dirty glass. Sometimes you wake up heavy, your limbs slow to respond, your mouth dry and bitter. But you take another pill anyway because the stiffness in your back is already clawing at you, and the fog promises to soften it again. The danger isn't sudden, it's quiet like the medication itself. One pill becomes 2 when the pain is bad. 2 becomes 3 when the days are long. You start to lose track of the hours, taking them sooner than the label allows, justifying it because the mission is harder today, because your knees hurt more than usual, because the heat is worse. The bottle rattles lighter each week, and you tell yourself you'll make it stretch. You never do. You watch the others, see the same pattern. Some are sharper in the mornings, duller by noon. Some share pills in quiet exchanges, slipping them from one hand to another like contraband. Everyone knows it's happening, but no one talks about it. The fog is part of survival here, as much as the armour, as much as the rifle. Without it, the days would cut too deep. With it, the days melt together, until you can't tell one from the next. The pill doesn't just dull the pain, it dulls you. And yet, when you feel the first prickle of aches creeping back, when the edges of reality start to sharpen again, you reach for the bottle without hesitation. Twist, rattle, swallow, wait, the fog returns, and you sink into it again, grateful and afraid at the same time. The hardest thing to explain about days out here is that they're not always filled with chaos. Most of the time, nothing happens at all. Hours of driving through empty streets, of walking past walls that all look the same, of sitting under a sky so white hot it feels like it could burn your eyes out. And in that endless nothing, the line between fear and boredom blurs until you can't always tell which one you're feeling. Boredom settles in first. You sit in the Humvee, rifle across your lap, and the world outside doesn't change. The same dust clouds, the same broken pavement, the same faded signs in a language you don't read. Minutes crawl past like hours. You shift in your seat, your back aching, your legs numb, your mouth dry. The pill you swallowed earlier smooths out the pain, but it also stretches time. You drift in and out of thought, your mind wandering, trying to remember what day it even is. The heat makes you sluggish, sweat dripping into your eyes, and your helmet feels heavier with each mile. You start noticing tiny things just to stay awake. A scrap of fabric fluttering on a fence. A stray dog limping along the road. The sound of your own breath inside the helmet. You count cracks in the pavement, lines on the walls, the seconds between bumps in the road. You stare so hard at nothing that your vision blurs. This is boredom, the kind that presses down harder than the armour itself. You think about home, about food, about sleep, but every thought feels far away, unreachable. Then something changes. A car slows down too close. A man lingers on a rooftop longer than he should. A pile of trash looks a little too neat. The boredom evaporates in an instant, replaced by a sharp surge that makes your pulse slam in your throat. Fear floods in so fast it feels electric, snapping you upright, narrowing your focus to a single point. Every muscle tightens. Every sound sharpens. You hold your breath, waiting for the blast, for the crack of gunfire, for the chaos you've rehearsed in your head 1,000 times. Sometimes it's nothing. The car pulls away. The man disappears. The trash pile stays just trash. The fear drains slowly, leaving you hollow, shaky, and more exhausted than before. You sink back into the seat, the pill still fogging your thoughts, the heat still pressing down, and boredom creeps in again. You almost welcome it, because at least boredom doesn't spike your heart like fear does. But boredom lasts longer, grinds you down slower, eats at you in silence. Other times it isn't nothing. Sometimes the blast comes, sudden and deafening, tearing through the monotony, proving that every second of boredom carried the possibility of disaster. Fear turns real, sharp, and heavy, and you realise you'd give anything to go back to being bored. That's the cruel rhythm out here. You either drown in endless monotony or brace for violence, and you never know which one the next second will bring. Fear keeps you alive. Boredom makes you question why you're here at all. The pill dulls both, just enough to keep you moving forward, but not enough to erase them completely. You sit in the Humvee, rifle across your lap, sweat dripping, eyes scanning, and you wonder which is worse, feeling nothing or feeling everything all at once. When the convoy finally slows to a crawl and turns toward the crowded streets, you feel your stomach tighten in a way the pill can't soften. The market looks alive compared to the empty roads, but that's exactly what makes it worse. People everywhere. Stalls covered in tarps flapping in the hot wind. Tables piled with fruit, vegetables, dusty electronics, and piles of clothes that look older than the men selling them. Children dart between carts. Women shuffle past with baskets balanced on their heads. Voices rise and overlap until the air is thick with a hum of sound. From a distance, it could almost look normal. Almost like a scene from another time, another life. Up close, You can't shake the feeling that every eye is on you. The Humvee engine growls as it crawls forward, tyres crunching against broken pavement. The gunner swivels in the turret, weapon aimed at nothing and everything all at once. You sit stiff in your seat, rifle across your lap, scanning the edges of the crowd. The pill in your system dulls the pressure in your joints, but it doesn't stop the weight in your chest. It never does in places like this. You look at the faces passing by, men leaning against walls, arms folded, teenagers whispering to each other, shopkeepers shouting prices louder than necessary. You tell yourself they're just living their lives. But you don't believe it. Not completely. Every bag looks suspicious. Every cart could hide something. Every rooftop feels too close. You scan the wires strung above the stalls, the windows that open just a crack, the shadows where someone could be crouched. Training has taught you to see threats in everything, and once you learn that, you can't unsee it. A plastic jug sitting by the roadside makes your throat tighten. A man with his hands buried in his pockets makes your pulse spike. A kid staring too long makes you grip your rifle tighter. The smell here is different from the open road. It's sharper, heavier. Spices, fried food, raw meat hanging in the sun. Mixed into it is the ever-present smoke of burning trash and the exhaust from your own vehicles. The air is alive with scents that clash and overwhelm, and yet beneath it all, you still catch the faint metallic tang of diesel that clings to everything. Sweat drips under your armour, stinging your eyes, and you blink hard, trying to stay focused. The crowd doesn't move the way you want it to. People press closer, children wave, someone laughs too loudly. Someone else spits on the ground as your convoy passes. You keep your rifle angled low, finger resting just outside the trigger guard, the way you've been trained. But you can feel the weight of it, the awareness that at any moment the line between market and battlefield could vanish. You don't want it to happen, but you know it could. The other soldiers don't talk much. A quick word on the radio, a gesture from the gunner, a muttered curse from the driver. Everyone is scanning, every set of eyes bouncing from one figure to the next, never resting too long, never trusting what they see. You catch yourself staring at the same man twice. Once leaning against a wall, again a block later. Or maybe it's someone else. Maybe your mind is playing tricks. Out here, paranoia doesn't feel like paranoia. It feels like preparation. The pill makes your thoughts slow, not sluggish. Just heavy, like they're moving through mud. You wonder if it helps or hurts in places like this. It makes you less jumpy, steadier, but it also makes the edges blur. A part of you wishes you could feel sharper, faster, but you also know what too much sharpness feels like. Fear that never turns off. A body wound so tight it shakes. The fog is better than that. At least you can breathe in it. The convoy keeps crawling forward, the crowd shifting, pressing, watching. You can't shake the eyes. Thousands of them. Some curious, some blank. Some narrowed just enough to make your chest tighten. You'll never know which ones are harmless and which ones aren't. That's the part that wears you down most. Not the heat, not the weight, not even the pain. It's the not knowing. Every face could mean nothing. Every face could mean everything. And you have no way to tell the difference. So you keep your eyes moving. Keep your grip firm. Keep your breath steady. The market hums around you, alive with voices and smells and heat, and you move through it like a shadow wrapped in armour, waiting for the moment when it might all turn. It never comes with warning. 1 second, You're staring out at a street that looks as lifeless as all the others, your rifle heavy across your lap, the pill in your system turning everything dull and hazy. The next second, the air itself cracks open. The first shot always sounds louder than it should, sharper than anything you've heard before, like the sky has been torn apart. For half a heartbeat, no one moves. Then the world explodes. Gunfire rattles against walls, shatters windows, echoes off the hard angles of buildings. The sound is everywhere at once, bouncing down the street, impossible to pin to a single direction. Your ears ring instantly, the helmet trapping the noise inside your skull until it feels like your brain is vibrating. The pill dulls your body, but not the shock. Your muscles still lock. Your pulse still slams. Your chest still seizes with that ancient, primal jolt of panic. Training kicks in before thought does. You slam your back against the door, bring your rifle up, scan the rooftops, the alleys, the windows. Shouts erupt inside the Humvee, clipped orders, voices strained and raw. The driver jerks the wheel. The vehicle lurches, throwing you against the seatbelt so hard it digs into your chest. The gunner above roars something you can't make out, and the turret erupts, heavy rounds pounding into the street ahead. The smell of gunpowder fills the air, sharp and metallic, mixing instantly with the ever-present diesel and burning trash. It scorches your nose, coats your tongue, burns your throat with every shallow breath. Outside, chaos swallows everything. Civilians scatter, some diving behind stalls, others running blind down alleys. Dust rises in choking clouds, blurring your vision, turning the street into a haze of shapes and shadows. You see movement in a window, a flash of light, another shot ringing out. Your rifle bucks in your hands, the recoil sharp, the sound deafening even through your ringing ears. You don't know if you hit anything. You don't know if you even saw clearly. The fog in your head from the medication makes everything feel half a second behind, like you're moving through water while the world moves too fast. The firefight stretches time until seconds feel like hours. You fire, reload, duck, fire again. Bullets snap past the vehicle, some clanging off the armour with metallic screams, others thudding into walls around you. The radio is alive with overlapping voices, orders, warnings, frantic calls for position. You hear words like contact, like rooftops, like flank, but they blur together in the static. Your focus narrows to the rifle in your hands, the pressure in your chest, the sweat stinging your eyes, and then, just as suddenly as it started, it stops. The gunfire trails off, first in bursts, then in silence. Dust hangs in the air, thicker now, settling slowly over broken glass, shattered stalls, bodies, some moving, some not. Your ears ring so loudly it feels like silence, though you know it isn't. Voices filter back in, muffled, as though underwater. Orders barked, soldiers shouting to each other, someone screaming in pain. The adrenaline drains from your body in a rush that leaves you shaky, your hands trembling against the rifle. The pill blunts the sharpness, but it can't erase the echo. Even when the street quiets, even when the Humvee moves forward again, the shots keep replaying in your head. The cracks, the thuds, the ringing that won't fade. You sit there, rifle still tight in your grip, sweat soaking through your armour, the taste of gunpowder still coating your tongue. You tell yourself it's over, that the firefight passed, that you survived another one. But the echo follows you, sitting heavy in the back of your skull, ready to come alive again at the next crack in the air. When the firefight ends, the world doesn't return to normal. It just slows down. The adrenaline drains from your muscles in a way that leaves you unsteady, like your body isn't sure if it can keep holding itself upright. The ringing in your ears lingers, a constant whistle that drowns out the low hum of the convoy regrouping. Dust still floats in the air, drifting down over broken stalls and shattered glass, settling on the sweat that runs down your face. Your rifle feels heavier than it did before, your armour tighter, your boots harder against the ground. The pill inside you softens some of it, but not enough. Never enough. Eventually, the vehicles roll back toward the base, engines groaning, exhaust thick in the air. The ride is quieter than usual. No half-hearted conversations, no muttered complaints. Just silence broken by the occasional radio call. Every soldier stares out their window, scanning the roads, but no one says what you're all thinking, that it could happen again at any second. You sit stiff in your seat, the taste of gunpowder still coating your tongue, watching the same broken streets roll by. Every shadow still looking like a threat. When the convoy finally reaches the gates and the wire fences come into view, relief creeps in, but it's thin, fragile. You know you're not safe, not really, but at least the road ends here, at least for now. The Humvee jerks to a stop, doors creak open, and you climb out into the blinding light. The air outside is thicker than before, heat pressing down like a weight, but it's familiar. You breathe it in anyway, coughing on the mix of diesel and dust, your throat burning raw. The walk back to the barracks begins slow. Boots scuff against gravel, rifles hang heavy, helmets tilt forward. No one hurries, no one speaks. It's a silent procession across the packed earth. Every soldier carrying not just their gear, but the invisible weight of what just happened. Sweat drips into your eyes, stings, slides down your cheeks like salt water. Your uniform clings to you, soaked, stiff in places where dust has turned it into sandpaper. You keep moving, one step after another, even as your legs ache with each stride. The pill in your system makes it feel distant, like you're watching yourself walk instead of doing it. The aches are muffled, dulled to background noise, but the exhaustion cuts through anyway. Your back throbs under the armour. Your knees threaten to buckle. Your shoulders scream with each swing of your arms. The walk isn't long, not really, but under the gear and under the weight of the day it feels endless. You glance at the others and see the same thing written across their faces. Blank stares, jaws clenched, eyes narrowed against the sun. Some limp slightly, some drag their feet, some march like they're on autopilot. No one breaks the silence. The firefight still echoes too loudly in your heads. The sounds of shots cracking, glass shattering, voices yelling, it lingers, even here inside the wire. The walk is the only way to bleed it out, step by heavy step. The closer you get to the barracks, the more the bass sounds return. Generators humming, trucks idling, voices calling out orders. Life inside the walls keeps moving, same as always, as if nothing happened beyond the wire. But your body knows different. Your shirt is soaked, your hands shake slightly when you loosen your grip on the rifle, your throat is raw from breathing dust and smoke. The barracks are just ahead, but they feel like miles away. When you finally reach the door, the air inside greets you like a stale wave. Sweat, mildew, the faint hum of the broken air conditioner. It isn't comfort, not really, but it's the only kind you'll get. You drop your gear slowly, each piece hitting the floor with a thud, and the relief is immediate and sharp. Your back straightens, your shoulders ease, your legs feel less like they'll collapse. The pain is still there, dulled but present, but the weight is gone for now. You sit on your cot, head in your hands, the fog of the medication wrapping around you again. The long walk back is over, but the day isn't. The barracks don't erase what happened, don't erase the ache in your body or the echo in your ears. They just give you a place to sit, to breathe, to swallow another pill if you need to, and to wait for the next time the walk begins all over again. You sit on the cot with your rifle laid across your lap, the metal still warm from the day's heat, the smell of gunpowder clinging to it like sweat on your skin. The firefight is hours behind you, but the weapon feels heavier now than it ever did on patrol. It doesn't matter that you cleaned it yesterday or the day before that. It doesn't matter that you'll clean it again tomorrow. The ritual never ends because the weapon never feels clean enough. You start the same way every time. You break it down, piece by piece, laying the parts out on a rag that used to be white but is now permanently stained black with oil and carbon. The sound is familiar. Pins sliding out, springs clicking, metal scraping against metal. Your fingers know the motion so well they move before your thoughts catch up. The pill you swallowed earlier blunts the pain in your joints, makes your hands steadier, but it also fogs the edges of your focus. You catch yourself staring at the pieces too long, the shapes blurring together in the dim light of the barracks. The smell of solvent fills the air, sharp and chemical, burning the back of your throat. Mixed with it is the sour odour of sweat, the faint mildew of damp cots, the ever-present haze of diesel drifting in from outside. You run the brush through the barrel again and again, listening to the rasping sound it makes. Black streaks staining the cloth no matter how many times you wipe. Each pass feels like it should be enough, but when you check the patch, it comes out dirty again. Always dirty. Always more to scrub. Around you, other soldiers do the same. Weapons spread across cots and tables, oil bottles scattered, rags blackened. No one talks much. Just the scrape of brushes, the click of parts snapping free, the occasional muttered curse when something jams or slips. It's a chorus of routine, a sound that becomes almost soothing if you don't think too hard about why you're doing it. The ritual isn't about comfort, it's about necessity. A weapon that fails can kill you faster than any enemy. Cleanliness isn't reassurance, it's survival. And yet, no matter how much you clean, doubt lingers. You stare at the parts, rub them with oil, wipe them down until your fingers are slick, and still the thought gnaws. Is it clean enough? Will it jam when you need it most? Will the dust that creeps into everything out here find its way inside again by morning? The desert is relentless. Sand seeps into cracks you didn't know existed. No cloth can stop it. No oil can prevent it. You fight a battle against it every night, and you know you're losing. The pill makes it easier to sit still through the ritual. Your back doesn't scream as much. Your knees don't ache when you lean forward. Your fingers don't cramp as quickly. But the fog it brings makes time slip. You look up and realise you've been scrubbing the same piece for 15 minutes, lost in the repetitive motion, lost in the smell of solvent and oil. The weapon gleams in spots and stays blackened in others, and you can't tell any more if it's clean, or if you're just convincing yourself it is. Some soldiers rush through it, calling it good enough after a few passes, snapping their rifles back together with a satisfied click. Others obsess, like you, rubbing every surface raw, chasing a cleanliness that doesn't exist. Both approaches end the same way. Weapons reassembled, laid across laps, checked again. You run the bolt back, listen to the sound, feel the movement. Smooth enough. Tight enough. But still in the back of your mind, a whisper. Not enough. Never enough. The ritual stretches long into the night. Brushes scrape, rags tear, oil bottles empty. The barracks fill with the smell until it's hard to breathe, until your eyes sting, until every taste in your mouth turns bitter and metallic. You keep going anyway, because stopping feels like admitting weakness, feels like tempting failure. The rifle has to be ready, even if you aren't. Especially if you aren't. When you finally snap the last piece back into place, the weapon feels heavier, not lighter. You stare at it across your lap, black metal reflecting the dim light, and you don't feel pride. You feel fatigue. You know tomorrow you'll do it again, after another patrol, after another firefight, or another stretch of silence. The ritual never ends, because the war never ends, not for you. You set the rifle against the wall, wipe your hands on the rag, smear black streaks across your palms. The solvent still burns your nose, the oil still clings to your skin. You glance at the pill bottle, think about swallowing another just to make the ache in your shoulders fade. You don't. Not yet. The ritual is done for tonight, but the doubt remains. No matter how much you scrub, no matter how carefully you check, the weapon never feels clean enough. And deep down, you know it never will. It starts quietly, the way most things do here. A bottle rattles on one cot, a soldier's hand dipping inside for one more pill to take the edge off before lights out. Another guy notices. He doesn't say anything, not right away. He just files the sound away in his head. A few nights later, when his own bottle feels lighter than it should, he leans over, voice low, and asks if he can have one. Just one. He promises he'll make it up when his next refill comes in. No one calls it trading at first, it's just helping. A favour, soldier to soldier. One guy shares because he knows what it feels like to ache all night with no relief. Another hands over a pill because he remembers what it's like to drag himself through a patrol with his knees on fire. The war makes everyone hurt. Out here, pain is constant, and the pills are the only thing that dull it enough to keep moving. Sharing becomes normal, unspoken, expected. You don't hoard if your buddy's suffering, at least not at first. But the pills never last as long as they're supposed to. The label says 1 every 6 hours. Out here, 1 every 6 feels like starvation. The pain doesn't wait, the patrols don't wait, the weight of the armour doesn't wait, do the bottles empty faster? And when they do, the questions start. Who still has some left? Who's willing to part with a few? Who's desperate enough to trade something else for them? Cigarettes, jerky, extra socks, batteries, everything becomes currency when the pain's too sharp to ignore. You catch yourself doing it too. At first you swore you wouldn't. You told yourself you'd follow the instructions, you'd ration carefully, you'd make the pills last. But then there was that one night when your back screamed so loud you couldn't sleep. Another morning when your knees buckled just trying to stand. Another patrol when your shoulders burned under the armour. You reached for the bottle early, then again, and again. Soon the rattle inside grew lighter, and you realised you were calculating how many you had left instead of how many hours you'd gone without. The fog in your head from the medication makes it easier to ignore the questions, but it doesn't silence them completely. You notice the way soldiers glance at each other's cots when bottles come out. You hear the whispered exchanges, the muted clink of pills dropped into another hand. You see the quiet relief on someone's face after swallowing one they didn't have a right to anymore. Everyone tells themselves it's temporary, just until the pain eases, just until the next refill arrives. But the truth hangs heavy. There's never enough. Hoarding creeps in. The same guys who used to share without hesitation now tuck their bottles deeper into their bags, screw the caps on tighter, count the pills one by one when no one's looking, trust phrase at the edges. You tell yourself you'll share if someone really needs it, but when you hear the pills rattling faintly inside, the sound feels too precious, too necessary. You can't bring yourself to let go. Not when you know tomorrow will hurt worse than today. And then there's the needing. Not just wanting, needing. The pill becomes more than relief. It becomes the only way to get through the day, the only way to face another patrol, another night on the cot, another morning in the heat. You feel the craving before the pain even flares. The thought that maybe if you take one now, the day will be easier, the hours shorter, the silence less sharp. You tell yourself it's still about pain. It isn't. Not anymore. No one talks about addiction out loud. The word hangs unspoken, dangerous, like saying it might make it real. Instead it's wrapped in jokes, in shrugs, in half smiles. You hear lines like, "Man, I'd kill for one more pill tonight," or "Guess I'll owe you when I run out." The laughs are hollow, but no one calls them out. It's easier not to. Everyone here is balancing the same bottle, the same line between control and collapse. The ritual of the trade continues night after night, a whisper, a rattle, a hand extended, a pill swallowed with warm water that tastes of plastic and dust. The relief comes, the fog returns, and for a little while everything feels manageable again, until the bottle's lighter, until the needing grows stronger, until you realise the war isn't just fought on the roads outside the wire. It's fought inside you too, in every choice between sharing, hoarding, and needing. The nights never give you the relief you hope for. The sun sinks, the horizon glows orange for a few minutes, and then darkness folds over the base. You expect the air to cool, but it doesn't. The heat lingers, trapped in the concrete and metal, rising back up as if the ground itself is exhaling. Inside the barracks, the air conditioner hums the same useless tune, pushing out warm, dusty air that only stirs the sweat on your skin. The cots are lined up close, canvas stretched tight, every one of them carrying the same sour scent of bodies that haven't known a real shower in weeks. You lie back and close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come. It rarely does. Your body aches in too many places. The raw burn on your shoulders from the straps, the dull throb in your knees, the stiffness in your back that no amount of stretching eases. You shift from one side to the other, boots still on, uniform clinging to you with salt stains. The pill you took hours ago has worn down, leaving you caught between pain and fog, too restless to rest, too exhausted to move. Around you, other soldiers stir. Some snore heavily, mouths open, breaths rasping against the heat. Others toss and turn like you, muttering curses under their breath. A few sit upright on their cots, rifles across their laps, staring into nothing. You hear the click of a lighter, smell the smoke of a cigarette drifting across the room. Someone whispers a joke too quietly to make out. No one laughs. The night is heavy, pressing, filled with silence that isn't silence at all. Outside, the The wind begins to rise. It starts soft, a low whistle threading through the gaps in the walls, stirring the dust that never settles. Then it grows louder, stronger, until it howls like an animal, rattling the thin metal sheets that make up the barracks. Sand seeps in through the cracks, a fine powder settling on your gear, your sheets, your skin. You cover your mouth with your sleeve, but it doesn't matter. You taste grit with every breath, your tongue coated, your teeth grinding. The storm builds until the barracks shake, the air turning brown, the world outside swallowed whole. Sleep becomes impossible. The sand finds your eyes, your nose, your throat, scratching at you from the inside out. The heat clings to you, sweat dripping, the cot damp beneath you. You roll onto your stomach, press your face into the pillow, but it only smells of mildew and salt. You sit up, wipe your face, take a sip from your canteen. The water tastes like plastic, like rust, and it doesn't help. The storm rages on outside, the sound of it drowning everything else, until you feel like you're lying inside a drum. Sometimes you reach for the pill bottle, one more to take the edge off, to make your body heavy enough that sleep drags you under despite the storm, despite the heat, despite the grit between your teeth. Sometimes you hold back, afraid of running out too soon, afraid of needing it more than you already do. Either way, the night stretches on. Hours pass without rest. You lie awake, eyes open in the dark, listening to the wind scream, feeling the sand settle on your skin, waiting for morning that never seems to come fast enough. By the time the storm dies down, the sky is already paling. Dust coats every surface, turning the barracks into a cave of grit. Your throat is raw, your eyes sting, your body feels older than it should. You push yourself upright, stretch against the ache, and realise you never really slept at all. Another night gone, another day waiting. Heat, insomnia, sandstorms. Out here the nights don't save you. They just drag you deeper into the grind. Sleep, when it finally comes, doesn't come gently. It drags you under like a riptide, sudden and heavy, and you don't even remember when your eyes closed. One moment you're staring at the ceiling of the barracks, listening to the hum of the broken air conditioner and the whistle of sand pushing through the cracks, and the next you're somewhere else entirely. In the dream, the air is clean. You don't notice it right away, but your body does. Your lungs expand easier, your throat doesn't burn, your tongue isn't coated with grit. The smell isn't diesel or sweat or burning trash. It's coffee. Real coffee, rich and bitter, steaming from a mug you're holding in a kitchen that looks like it was pulled straight out of another lifetime. The light through the window is soft, not harsh, not blinding, and when you look outside, you don't see sand. You see grass, green and alive, swaying in a breeze that feels cool against your skin. Your back doesn't ache. Your knees don't throb. The armour is gone, the weight lifted. You're wearing a t-shirt that smells like detergent, and it fits loose, clean. Your hands don't shake when you raise the mug. They're steady, strong, the way they used to be. You hear a voice. You hear someone laughing in another room. Someone calling your name. Someone who isn't covered in dust and sweat. For a moment, the war doesn't exist. For a moment, you believe you're home. But dreams never last. Something shifts. The light flickers. The coffee cools. The green outside fades. The smell of diesel creeps back in, faint at first, then stronger. The mug in your hand feels heavier. The taste on your tongue turns bitter in the wrong way. burnt and chemical. You look down, and the shirt is damp with sweat. You blink, and the walls around you aren't painted. They're canvas, stained with mildew. The breeze turns hot, full of sand. The voice calling your name isn't laughter anymore. It's a sergeant barking an order. You wake with a start. Heart pounding, mouth dry. The barracks is exactly the same as when you closed your eyes. Rows of cots, soldiers shifting in restless sleep. The stink of bodies and dust thick in the air. The hum of the useless air conditioner drones on, steady and cruel. Your back screams as you sit up, your shoulders stiff, your knees tight. You rub your eyes, but the sand is still there, scratching, stinging. The dream fades quickly, slipping through your fingers until you can't remember the details. Only the feeling remains, that brief sense of clean air, of green grass, of freedom. You sit on the edge of the cot, staring at the floor, the pill bottle a faint silhouette against your bag in the dim light. You think about reaching for it, not because of the pain, not yet, but because of the ache the dream left behind. The ache of remembering what it felt like to be somewhere else, someone else. You don't. Not this time. You just sit, breathing the hot air, listening to the distant thud of artillery, or maybe just the wind outside, and you realise you'll dream of home again. You'll wake the same way again, because that's how it works out here. Morning comes, always the same. The heat seeps back in. The weight of armour waits for you. The day stretches out in front of you like an endless road. Dreaming of home is easy. Waking is the hard part. Because no matter where your mind drifts in the dark, when your eyes open, it's the same war staring back. And that's the reality. The heat that never fades. The dust that creeps into every corner. The weight of armour pressing down until the body gives way. The little orange bottle rattling with promises it can't keep. Patrols that stretch for hours through silence. Sudden bursts of chaos that echo long after they end. And nights where even sleep refuses to come. It isn't the kind of story that gets told in recruiting posters or movies. It's slower, heavier, filled with days that blur together until all that's left is the grind of survival and the quiet ways soldiers find to endure it. Pills before patrol, jokes that fall flat, letters that arrive too late, dreams that end too soon. And tomorrow it all begins again. The sun rises, the gear waits, the convoy lines up. The body aches, the pill bottle rattles, and the cycle repeats. Over and over, until the days and nights lose their edges. That's what it meant to be out there. To wake up in the desert heat, to walk through the dust, to wait for something you couldn't predict, and to keep moving forward anyway.